I love it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a lot to get to today, guys. So welcome to today's webinar. We have our maximizing inbound marketing with HubSpot. We are joining us today is Diana and Matt from RevPartners. We have a very informative and interactive session today. I'm super excited. We're going to get started with some trivia first. We also are going to be discussing the importance of RevOps in inbound marketing lead management with RevOps, how RevOps supports the inbound marketing strategy, and data analysis with RevOps. And without further ado, Matt, if you want to
let's
take it
give
away.
away some stuff. Yeah. Okay. So who wants to get a gift card? Basically, you can redeem this for Starbucks. You could redeem this for a few different things. Okay. Question number one. This is going to be an easy one, or maybe it's going to be a hard one. I don't know. Let's see. True or false? When sales is contacting marketing qualified leads, faster is always better. Marketing people, is faster always better? Salespeople, is faster always better?
Ooh,
It could be false. I mean, I don't know if maybe you want to let them linger a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you want them to want you, right? Like I get emails all the time from clients or from people trying to pitch us stuff like, hey, my calendar is getting booked, right? So
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
I don't know. It's a real thing. What do we think?
All right, let's see. What's the verdict? What do we got?
We have 57% true and 43% false.
Wow. Okay, let's see. What's the true answer?
Boom, boom, boom.
You guys got it. So you're 21 times more likely to qualify your lead with a fast response. Basically respond within the first 30 minutes. And I would say 5-10 minutes is really ideal. Faster is better. Winner will be chosen at random because a lot of people got that one right. Okay, Diana, what's our next question?
Okay, next question. Let's do it. So HubSpot's AI features are available to use right now. Is that true or is that false? What have you guys been seeing online? I mean, if you all follow HubSpot, you might have been seeing something. Is that available? Is that not? What is it? Do we know?
Yeah, I see Dharmesh post stuff, but I'm like, can I put that in my HubSpot instance today?
Right. What do we think, guys?
Right. What's the verdict?
That's 100% true.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Well, let's see.
Following. ChatSpot and Content Assistant are both available in public alpha. So there's a lot of really great stuff coming in with both of those, and it's going to change a lot of things. You guys are on it.
That's
all
awesome.
Right, let's do this last one, Matt.
Yeah. Last question. This one's multiple choice. This is for the SEO peeps out there. So first, if you're the closest, if you get the right multiple choice answer, we'll pick you at random to win the gift card. Okay. What is the average click-through rate for page 2, not page 1, page 2 of search results on Google? So in other words, if your website ranks on page 2 for a search term, what is your anticipated click-through rate? So there should be 4 answers on your screen. Pick the one you think is best. I don't know. I think 50 is I really don't think it's 50, Diana. I'm going to go ahead and give them a hint on that one.
Yeah, like the chances of people even getting to page 2. What would that look like?
Right.
Do you all click on page 2? I don't know. I haven't done that in a while.
Okay, what's the verdict?
All right, so we have 72% of people saying less than 1%.
Interesting. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's true. Less than 1%. One study found it was 0.63% click-through rate for page 2 search results. Wow. Kathy, ouch is right. Okay. Let's talk about, congrats to our winners. You guys will be emailed with your link to redeem your gift card. Let's talk about Hubolution, Diana.
Yeah, for sure. So guys, thank you so much for this icebreaker. We wanted to make sure that we sort of like set the tone right. And just to finish with this icebreaker, we wanted to invite you to our Hubolution rally. It's happening July 27th. We're going to be posting a form to sign up here on our chat. It's going to be really great. There's going to be a HubSpot versus Salesforce piece and a lot of really fun activities. So hope to see you all there. All right, just to make sure everybody's on or we're all on the same page, we're actually going to be announcing the winners that we picked at random from this trivia towards the end of this presentation. So you'll also get via email, but we'll announce them later on. Okay, shall we kick things off officially?
Yes.
All right, great. So guys, a little bit about us, just to go ahead and kick it off. We are both in sales right now, but we both come from a marketing background. So we thought that was going to be really important for us to mention at the beginning of this HAG event. I built my career. I started from like content marketing and then transitioned over to be a marketing manager. I then became a RevOps strategist here at RevPartners a little bit over 2 years ago. And now I am in sales here doing consultative sales for people that are looking for our RevOps services. So I have a little bit of all of the different points of view. And I also really like getting technical with HubSpot. So those are some of the things that I'll be bringing to the table today. What about you, Matt?
Okay, so I'm an AE here at RevPartners, but yes, throughout my career, I've managed paid digital campaigns, Google, Meta, LinkedIn. Remember when it was called Facebook, not Meta? Okay. Project manage, like custom web design projects. Actually, tell you a funny story. One of the largest Marketing Hub implementations that I oversaw, it was a Marketo to HubSpot migration, 1.4 million marketing contacts. And it was a big project. And on the go live date, I was really excited. And I live in Florida, and I had a hurricane happen here in Florida, and I lost all power on the day of the go live. And I was so stressed out, but thankfully I had a great team. And despite that, we went live and I earned a few gray hairs stressing out over it. Yes, another ouch, Kathy. I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm gonna talk about the importance of RevOps and inbound marketing. I'm gonna kick things off. One of the biggest problems that I see with traditional marketing and inbound strategies is that they lack real traceability on their own. So when you think about your marketing campaign's impact on your company, you know that company leadership wants you to close the loop on your campaign's impact on revenue. So I'll use that phrase a bit here, close the loop. And I'm gonna start with a story. So earlier in my career, I remember sitting in the boardroom of a large sport boat, sport yacht manufacturer. And let me set the stage. So kind of an old school vibe, wood panels on the walls. You know, you could smell the resin that they use to make the boats. If you guys don't know, they actually spray it into a mold, and that's what makes the hull of the boat. It smells like airplane glue. So the joke is anyone who works in boat manufacturing, it's like they're happy all the time because they're just smelling this airplane glue all day long. And the company president of this big company, he used to call me and my associate the Men in Black, because being in digital marketing, at the time, we dressed really casual. I still dress casual now, but we dressed really casual. And it just so happened the only somewhat dressy clothes we had were like this black pants and black tie, and we looked like groomsmen coming into this big business meeting. But the point is, we were so excited to show off our newly achieved first page Google rankings. SEO rankings. This was after 8 to 12 months of really hard work. Traffic was up, rankings were up, form submissions were up. We were crushing it, so we thought. But there was a big disconnect with this company's president. And I'll never forget, he kept repeating himself to say, "You've got to close the loop for me. I like what you're doing, and I like the traffic, and I like you guys, and I want to continue. But if you can't close the loop for me, then I can't justify our investment in your marketing campaigns." So on this next slide, just close the loop. That's the point. So some of you might say that's unfair, but you know, the dollars and cents of it was what he wanted and what he needed to see. And it was through that process I came to realize there's all these different facets of marketing, from branding, content, communications, inbound. But the shortest distance between the 2 points for this president on closing the loop on market was closing the loop on marketing's impact to revenue. So how do we do that? Well, that's what we want to talk about on this call. So revenue operations is the key. RevOps aligns sales, marketing, customer success teams because those are revenue teams. They're all participating and involved in revenue, and they're becoming accountable to revenue through RevOps. So the idea is that they're all revenue teams, and there's 100% a need to establish end-to-end processes within your company or your client's company to track the marketing and sales motions, track the data points along the way, and the output is that you're going to improve the customer experience. So as HubSpot would say, add force, reduce friction, spin the good old flywheel. This is why we're so excited about HubSpot as a CRM, because it becomes the platform on this next slide to house all the data, align the team, and whether through integration with other systems where teams are working out of multiple systems and the data comes into HubSpot as the CRM for that single source of truth, or all by itself, like CRM Suite, where sales, marketing, service teams are actually operating out of the same tool. So I have a question. This one, you're not going to win a gift card. Sorry, guys. So this is the time to get real, okay? So this is a question only for the bravest attendees today. Rate your company's ability to directly measure marketing's impact on revenue. And there's 3 choices. I got great visibility to close the loop. I got poor visibility. I got nothing, or somewhere in between. And based on the vertical industry you're in and your sales motion, it's going to make it harder or easier. So for example, and I want everybody to participate on this while you're answering, if you're an e-commerce brand, you're likely to have great visibility. Whereas, other sales motions, it could be a bit harder. So, okay, let's see, what are our answers? Maybe someone could read our percentages. I'm not able to see it on my screen.
Sure. We have 41% for both, somewhere in between, and poor visibility. Well, now it's about 44%, somewhere in between.
Okay. And what percentage did we get for great visibility?
16% holding steady there.
Wow,
Okay.
16.
Okay.
Good to know. All right. So without great visibility, what do we do? So here's second best. If you can't close the loop on revenue, second best is looking at upstream KPIs and estimates. Most of us on this call have to do this commonly. So for example, KPIs for SEO that I presented in that meeting that didn't work were rankings, traffic, form submissions, conversion rates. And it's worth noting, Diana, correct me if I'm wrong, we've signed into a bunch of HubSpot accounts where there's no revenue data.
Yep.
It's not a requirement. Now, if you use estimates, I know one B2C agency in the hotel space who uses this estimate. 1 out of 6 phone calls to your hotel or resort turns into a booking. And I suppose that's better than nothing, but it's really imprecise. I mean, guys, consider how COVID and work from home affected conversion rates across the board. Many times they went up because people started to use the digital purchase method no matter what, and they weren't going in person to purchase. So if you're basing off of estimates, that's not rooted in timely data, so you lose the ability to pivot when market conditions change. Next slide. Here's the bottom line. Without revenue data, marketing's in a super compromising position because on one hand, marketing has less accountability due to what can't be measured, but that's not a good thing. On the other hand, marketing never truly gets the credit for its impact to revenue. And if marketing can't prove its impact to revenue, it's going to be an uphill battle to grow. It can be really hard to get more marketing budget within your company and add that additional team member that you want if you can't tie marketing's impact to revenue. Okay, let's go to section 2. Diana.
Yeah, Matt, and just to briefly comment on that, I mean, it's huge, it's big. What we're talking about is sort of like a shift of mindset behind marketing is measured by creating leads. Now we're shifting that into marketing and sales are 2 essential parts of one single go-to-market motion. And how do we make sure that they are aligned to get to our ultimate goals, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about some of our best practices towards the end of this event. But first, I want to talk about what lead management with RevOps looks like, the challenges, and what it could look like. So a few things just to set the stage here, guys. About 20%, there's a 20% increase in sales ready leads when you use some type of email nurturing. That means you generate leads through some sort of inbound and you're having them hosted within your CRM. You start sending them emails, they eventually convert to be sales ready. On the flip side of that, there's about a 70% drop off of leads from poor follow-up. That usually comes from a sales rep not following up, an SDR maybe not knowing that there's a lead to follow up on, or a variation of the two. And also there's about a 77% boost in qualified sales leads by using lead scoring. So this is very important, right? Like not just how do we create demand generation, how do we put our brand out there, how do we get people to know about what we do and our product and our service, but also like how are we hosting those leads, and then how do those leads progress through time. And so what we know to be true is this very simple funnel that pretty much just this is fixing all of our lives, right? Like this is how it's supposed to be. Form submissions, you do nurturing, you do lead scoring, and then you're sales ready. Well, no, there's a few problems with that. Not all forms are created equal, right? It's very different if somebody submits a form from a lead magnet than if they do from a contact us form. Another problem, lead scoring is very cumbersome and we don't really know how to make it actionable. Like, okay, that's great, there's a score, and now what? Like, what's the, what? What do I do? And then the final and biggest problem is after your lead is sales ready, it's pretty much a black box. There is no visibility. And Matt, I just want to mention here, like, that's one of the big things that we talk about with clients about having everything in one CRM, right? Like being able to see the entire journey of a lead, right?
It hurts to hear that it's a black box being on the sales side today.
Yeah.
But back when I wasn't, I wholeheartedly agree. There was not a ton of alignment.
Right. So how do we fix that black box? How do we give visibility, and how do we create journeys that are aligned with every single one of the steps that we have created in our funnels, and how do we make lead scoring actionable? So when we talk, or when we put ourselves in the mindset of a RevOps like model or data model, we talk about something called sales go-to-market models. And just for brief context, one stage go-to-market model is when you have a full cycle AE taking care of the entire process, and then two stages when you have an SDR or a BDR doing some of the prospecting, and then they pass it over to an account executive. So to align that with the type of funnel that we could have, I mean, a very easy, straightforward funnel could just be form submission, contact us form, the client books the meeting, and the lead is sales ready, right? Like this is ideal scenario. But the reality is that it doesn't always work that way. I mean, when we talk about two-stage, there's a few meetings that have to be booked. There's a campaign, there's a trial, there's a retargeting. I mean, like there's a lot of different variables before we are able to get a lead to sales ready. Now, what I want to show you is that with HubSpot, you can streamline, and I know that's a buzzword, but listen here, this is life-saving. This is one of the best tools I have ever seen for funnel tracking. So with customer journey reports, and by the way, this is only available in Marketing Enterprise, so but it's such a great tool. You can basically set your stages, and I did a very simple one here just based off of life cycle stages. So stage one would be like a lead, and then marketing qualified lead and sales qualified lead. But you can say like form submission, and if it's a lead magnet, you can say the form submission of the lead magnet, open the email, book the meeting, etc. And you can see drop off. You can see conversion rates between one step and the other, and you can see average times. You can create as many of these reports as you want. You can create segments, cohorts. You can do it by client type. You can do it by product type, like based off of the product that they're interested. I think this is one of the best ways that we can track some of these funnels directly within HubSpot. So, okay, we're tracking leads, we're figuring out where they're going. We see that there's, conversion here, drop here, etc. And again, just going back, I mean, there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of touch points between the point when you are visiting a website and you're actually ready to talk to sales. So when it's inbound marketing and I have a form submission based off of a lead magnet or whatever else, how do I make them go further down the funnel? Well, lead scoring is my personal favorite. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the best practices of how we do lead scoring at RevPartners. We basically create two different sets of scores. And this is the fit score is based off of your ICP, right? So who are you targeting? What is that persona like? What's their job title? Where are they located? Industry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you give positive numbers or negative numbers. And this is based off of a calculated property, guys, or a scoring property within HubSpot. So you say literally like the job title that I'm interested in are X, Y, and Z. And based off of that, I'm going to give them 5 more points versus if their job title is like HR manager that I'm not interested in, then I'm going to give them negative points. The flip side of that is the behavior score, because intent is important. It's not just about your ICP. You also have to understand how they are behaving with your brand, with your website, and with your content in general. So giving positive scores to things like form submissions, right? How many lead magnets, webinars, what are they actually attending? How many emails have they opened? Are they interacting with my ads, et cetera, et cetera? To all of those pieces, you give positive numbers. And also like if they go into your careers page, you might want to give them a negative number. Now, these two live as independent scores within our HubSpot instance, but then we create a third one to average them out, which is what we ultimately call our lead score. Now, I want to show you guys how we actually take a look and make this actionable. So we take our fit score and we take our behavior score. And what I personally like to do is we take a look at all of the historical information of contacts that are SQL and beyond, so SQL, opportunity, or customer, and we see what their fit score looks like and what their behavior score looks like. And then you want to take a look at your 80th percentile. So 80% of the people in SQL or beyond have a fit score of 20. That's your trigger. When a contact reaches the 20 points of score in your system, that's when you want to create an automation to automatically send a notification to your SDR, or automatically create a deal, or automatically just have some sort of automation so that you can have your salespeople know that this lead is sales ready, that we need to start talking to them because they are both good in terms of fit and good in terms of intent, or hot in terms of intent. So with that, I'll pass it back over to you, Matt.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I really like how you do the lead scoring with more, it's very like multifaceted, and it's not just based on, all the typical, like how many marketing emails did they open, or something like that. Like that can play into it, but good fit is so important. So I'm going to transition to talk about how RevOps supports the inbound marketing strategy. So if you're in marketing, definitely pay attention, because this is only going to enhance what you're already doing. So RevOps, it supports marketing in many ways. There's a variety. I'm just going to talk about a few. So the way I put this together is RevOps makes marketing's impact more traceable, more visible, more repeatable, all the way through the customer journey. So let's camp out on traceable first. RevOps makes marketing's impact more traceable. This, I think about attribution right off the bat. So measuring the source of leads, but also making sure that you're closing the loop and passing that source on to the deals so that you have deal sources. And by the way, offline sources. How many use HubSpot right now? And when you look at a pie chart of the source of your leads and deals, like what looks like Pac-Man, most of them are offline. Please create some custom offline sources and track those from the community-led growth initiatives your company has, et cetera, et cetera. So I also think about like measuring marketing's impact mid-deal. So for example, it doesn't stop once you've got that MQL, you've got that SQL. For example, automated marketing emails triggered by deal stage, or Facebook custom ad audiences triggered by lifecycle stage for cross-sell, upsell motions. And then think about all the assets that marketing creates that are utilized during the sales process, like documents and web pages, and how that is all tracked into the CRM. Well, hopefully it is. And that leads me to my next point is it tracked, and how visible is all of this? So first of all, we have to be tracking it, but when the data lives in the CRM, all teams can see the impact. They can see it mid-campaign and mid-deal. The idea is not to wait for a QBR, a quarterly business review within your company, to share the wealth. Like, man, share it weekly, share it so that everyone's using the same reports. And then last but not least, finally, RevOps makes marketing's impact more repeatable. So the idea is to mine the data and then surface, stop, repeat. It's kind of like stop, drop, and roll, but the RevOps version. So surface insights, stop what's not working, repeat what is working. And on the next slide, I put just a general great leadership thought, which is it's okay to lose, but it's not okay to keep losing for the same reason. And so please apply that to, your marketing campaigns, any sales reps that are on the call or sales directors. Like, it's okay if we're losing deals, but we need to figure out the why. And that's what RevOps does, is it often explains the why behind what happened. So it's okay to lose, but it's not okay to keep losing for the same reason. So on this next slide, I put together a list of recommendations. So these are super practical. I got to give a shout out to Amanda on this next slide, because I asked for this fly on the wall where, this is basically meant to be a sales meeting, like a weekly sales stand up. And I said, I want the marketing director to be a fly on the wall. And Amanda, you came through, because there he is, or she is, there's the fly. But it doesn't have to be weekly. It could be once a month, but preferably more than quarterly. Here's my ask: marketing, attend sales meetings and listen and take notes. And don't engage a ton, just be that fly on the wall. So the idea is this: listen to the deals being discussed and the details being discussed. Listen to sales reps talk about their deals that they're running. They're super in the weeds on these deals, and note any specific blockers that they're running into. And then think about this: those blockers that you hear on those deals, are these blockers one-off anomalies, or are these trends that are emerging that we're going to need to address? And then being in marketing, you're seeing a bigger picture of what's happening. So consider how your upstream knowledge of lead sources, the overall go-to-market strategy can help. And also think about how these sales reps and this sales team can help you by collecting data, like close won and close lost reasons. That's not an open text field in your CRM, is it? Well, by default it is. In HubSpot, it's an open text field. It's pretty hard to report on it and make informed decisions unless you make that a drop-down menu, right? So it's a pick list or a drop-down menu. You can report on it and see that. So these reps can actually help you gather data that you can go back and use in your marketing strategy. Number two, practical recommendation: share reports across teams. Don't live in silos. So marketing may be tasked with top and middle of funnel work, but generally we're all very interested in cause and effect of how marketing's work connects to sales. So, if you have HubSpot, you could use dashboards in this way. You could have a marketing leads dashboard that incorporates a little bit of sales info. You could have a weekly sales stand-up dashboard that incorporates a little bit of marketing info. And this is alignment without even having to book a meeting, because you're putting everyone's eyes on KPIs even outside of their team. And then all of a sudden, sales reps will start to surface the fact that, well, maybe they don't say yo, but depends on their age, but like they're going to say, wow, all the leads that I get from that source from marketing seem to be really easy for me to close. And that's the insights that you want your sales reps to help you find. Last but not least, return on ad spend. A little more technical, but for any campaign or ad ops on the call, like I used to do, incorporate revenue into your campaign, like bid optimization strategy. And you're only going to be able to do it if systems are integrated and the RevOps is at that humming stage where everything's working. So on the next slide, when you incorporate RevOps into your inbound marketing strategy, it's amazing what insights will surface. For example, HubSpot analyzed more than 330,000 calls to action over a 6-month time frame and discovered that personalized CTAs convert 202% better than basic or non-personalized CTAs. But this is the question. How will you personalize CTAs in the first place? How are you going to do it? So on the next slide, here's the deal. Upstream of personalization is data collection. Your CRM's a database. It needs a data model. And without a data model, it's like a blank spreadsheet. It's unorganized. It's kind of a free-for-all. But the more you tag and categorize records, this opens up massive opportunities to improve conversion rates through personalization. And you can get marketing leaders, you can get your sales teams to help you along the way with required properties as they're running deals. All of a sudden, the overall operational flow of how you guys execute your go-to-market motion, it's just baked in that you're collecting the data so that you can personalize on it. You don't have to hire a data entry person or anything like that. Okay, next slide. So how RevOps can align these 3 revenue teams. So we want to weaponize the data and create repeatable revenue wins. So it's more fun to talk about specific examples. So I'm going to call this the domino effect based on a real scenario. So here's the effect. Here's what's going on at this company. Sales is absolutely killing it. And they're closing deals, but the company has a growing customer churn rate. Now, initially, the hypothesis of all the execs is all eyes immediately go to the customer success, customer service team. It's their fault. Customers are churning. What can RevOps tell us? So upstream during the sales process, can we detect poor fit prospects that sales closed? On the next slide. What through lines can we notice, and what do those customers and deals have in common? Check the deal source, check the contact create source. And then during new customer onboarding, what does the data show about new customers during their onboarding experience that contributes to customer churn rate? For example, are we documenting that customers are not completing their onboarding and that puts them at risk to churn? That's a common one. And customer service teams, we're all documenting the reasons for churn in a custom drop-down list, right? Not a note, right? So if we can report on it, we can improve it. So we want to capture that data. And then what was the marketing source attribution of all those deals back when they were leads? Okay, so next slide. Here's the example findings using the RevOps data. Leads from a very specific source. Here's what we found. Although sales can close them, great job sales team, they are predisposed to a high churn rate after they become customers. And the customer success team, the churn reason data indicates that it's always a lack of impact to their metrics. They can't tie why they stay subscribed, why they should renew their contract. So solutions, we need sales to add a minimal amount of friction during the sales process to clarify our solution. Friction can be good. And we need ways post-sale to tie our solution to metrics. Now, on the next slide, it's like my mind was blown because I realized all of these apps with a product-led growth sales motion, they do this. This is my Loom account where I record videos. Every time I sign in, they're tying my use of their app back to the metrics. It says, I saved 6 hours of live conversations. Well, I'm pretty outgoing, but yeah, I would like to save 6 hours of conversations. And then we've got Evernote telling me I created 362 notes, how amazing this was. I used the tool so much. How could I live without Evernote? All right, I'm going to renew. And then Spotify. I listened to over 6,000 tracks in 2018. I got to renew. So as you can see, there's a lot of data that can come through this RevOps, and a lot of meaningful decisions can be made. So let me turn it over to Diana.
Matt, those are such great points. I mean, alignment is everything. It really, really, really is. And if we think about all of these go-to-market departments living in all of the silos, I think the best way for us to rail everyone in is for goals to be tied to revenue, not just for sales, for marketing and for customer success. So that everybody's really like we all win together. I love that phrase. We all win together. So I don't know if we have this final poll available. I know that there was some hint of this in a poll question we did, but I just want to see, like, raise of hands, how many of you guys already have your company's marketing efforts tied to data, to revenue, to actual revenue that marketing is impacting? I'd love to hear it. I just want to understand whether we're still in the metrics KPI zone or if there's already some advancement into revenue. So answer the question, yes or no. Let's see. Do we have,
We had like
answers?
we had like 60-40 with no at 60.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, it's going to be a process. I really do think that marketing goals in the future are all going to be tied to revenue. Just to give you guys an example of how this is really psychological too. At RevPartners, even the marketing team, the folks that have bonuses in the marketing team are tied to new bookings, to the revenue that we are generating. So that really plays a role in us being aligned, because the marketing team is now, going out there and figuring out, well, how do I help the sales team more to reach these goals? Not to say that it's not already happening, but there's an added incentive at all levels of the marketing team. So when we talk about, now I'm going to talk about data analysis with RevOps a little bit more, and how we can actually get to the revenue information as it ties back to different marketing tactics. So one of the first things that we have to talk about is that data is required. And I have this conversation with prospects, and I used to have conversations with my clients in the past about this. If you don't already have a CRM, you really need one. Excel sheets and Word documents and emails are just no longer enough. So if you've already passed through that hurdle, listen, you're already ahead of the game, because we're still having a lot of conversations with folks that are making that transition. So good for you. However, having a CRM isn't the most important thing. So it's great if you have HubSpot. It's great if you're already starting to put information in there, but the actual adoption of using HubSpot and tracking information within HubSpot is probably the most important thing that you can focus on as you look at your data analysis, specifically tying back to lead generation, lead management, and marketing efforts in general. Sales reps will know firsthand what the client did to get to us, what's to know about. Like, they are a wealth of information, and we really need to have them track this info within HubSpot. And number 3 is finally the analysis of all of that information. So yes, we still have KPIs, but they're not like our overall overarching goal. We need to be able to track both KPIs and revenue attribution. Listen, guys, revenue attribution is really difficult, especially when we talk about marketing tactics. If you remember a few slides back when I was talking about all of the different touch points, HubSpot does have a way of doing attribution specifically in terms of revenue attribution, but you do have to sit down and think about, like, which type of model do I want, a W or J or whatever the case may be. And if you're in the starting point of attribution modeling for your marketing tactics, I'm going to give you a few very useful first points that you can start doing today in just a few seconds, so that you can start your attribution journey. Before I do that, I want to share you guys the type of information that you'll be able to see within HubSpot to tie things back to marketing. And so when we talk about tying your goals to revenue, we're talking about how many deals and what was the dollar amount of those deals that were closed won within any given quarter that came from marketing, right? Came from marketing. Yeah, I know that's a black box. So being able to see information like this within HubSpot, like number of deals that were generated by marketing, the actual revenue that came in from marketing, and then being able to split it by source. So let me go into this next slide. Being able to split it by source also in terms of revenue helps us better understand what's working and what's not working. More than this, one of the main things that we look at when we're going into QBRs, specifically like the sales QBR, is what is our conversion rate for each one of these sources? Like, how are we actually, do we get leads that convert or don't convert, that have quite high quality or low quality, whose lead score is above the threshold or below the threshold? Because that's also impacting our final closed won rates, right? So being able to have reports that are specific to this type of information is essential, and understanding what the trend is, whether it's positive or negative from one quarter to the other, is one of the main things that we're tracking when it comes to marketing being tied to a revenue goal. So this is very high level in regards to the type of reporting that you're going to be able to do, but here are the 3 actionable tips. And this is going to sound silly, guys. I was a non-believer, I have to say, but it's a real thing, and we see it working from a sales perspective, knowing the background of marketing. So have a custom property in your deals that says deal source. That is one of the first things that you can do. Make it a required property so that your sales team can add the information. Your sales team always asks the client where they're hearing from us. And there's also some automation that can be tied to it. So if your lead came from lead scoring and eventually was passed down to sales, you can automate it so that when the threshold, when a contact reaches the threshold, a deal is automatically created, and the automation of that deal creation automatically puts in their deal source inbound. It doesn't have to be a big drill down of all of the different like referral, organic, etc. Just inbound. Being able to do that initial attribution to a marketing effort is essential. Number 2, and again, sounds silly, but asking your forms. I was very surprised, but we get things like, how did you hear from us, or how did you hear about us? Some people say YouTube, like that was never going to be an option that we added on there. We didn't know that it was like an actual thing where people would be able to reach out to us from, but having that piece as a non-required field within your forms helps you capture so much information that you really were not aware of. And number 3, start using campaigns within HubSpot, right? Creating UTMs to be able to track how like your emails are performing, how other landing pages or particular social campaigns are working, really helps us tie in the influence of those campaigns back to deals. So within the campaign feature of HubSpot, you can tie lists of people that you're retargeting with an ad campaign, or you can add forms or landing pages that are tied to a particular campaign, so that you know, even for example, if a contact has a close off deal and they come back to us and then create a new deal, a new opportunity because they re-engaged with us, that campaign will show you the influence in a dollar amount based off of your campaign within HubSpot. So if you're at the early stages, if you start really using these first 3 tips, I think it's going to drive a lot of value, and you can start getting a little bit more fancy from there and start figuring out what like a first touch attribution reporting might look like versus last touch, and start understanding what really works for your business, for your particular operations. Okay, I think we just went through a lot, and that covers most of the information that we're going through today. So let's see if we can talk about our winners before we go into winners. Matt.
Yes, I would love to announce the winners. Okay, here's the winners. 3 of them. Number 1, Phil Bard. Phil Bard, congratulations. Come up and get your prize. No, we'll email you. Victoria Harks. Victoria Harks, congratulations. And Ashley Jackson. Congratulations to you, Ashley. We'll be emailing you your gift card voucher, and then you can go ahead and redeem it on your own.
Yeah, guys, I hope that this has been helpful and interactive for everyone, to really like engage with the content that we wanted to share with you all here. And Matt, as we start transitioning into like a Q&A section here, um, I just wanted to share our thoughts in regards to that transition of mindset from marketing to sales. We've both had that. I think from my side, the sales team wants marketing to do really well. The sales team, it's in the sales team's best interest to understand what's working and what's not working so that we can continue to get the best possible high quality leads. So that interaction is important, and trusting the sales reps is important. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
And the other thing is the data level sets all of the conclusions and assumptions that we as different teams make. Like I know in particular, working in the past, like doing marketing consulting for like a field sales home improvement company, there was a feeling among their sales teams, different locations, that any online leads were junk. It was just a general sentiment, oh, they're all junk. But once we started to dig in and say, well, help us understand the details of why they're junk. Is it that you're not able to reach them when you call? Is it that you are able to visit, but when you visit on site at their household, they don't move forward with you? What is it about those deals? And ultimately, what you start to uncover is leads and deals from different sources. You can almost create a playbook for those. For example, leads that come through this specific source are always hyper competitive, whereas leads that come from that specific source seem to be like, we're the only provider being looked at. And that's just to scratch the surface.
Yeah, and we've actually been able to uncover even who performs better in each source. Like Matt usually closes deals more when they come from this source, and I usually close more deals when they come from that source. The information that we get from that it has changed the way that we do lead routing. It has changed the way that we interact with deals. I mean, that analysis is important.
Yeah, it really makes me think about Matt Bolian's analogy of sabermetrics, which in baseball is like, if anybody's seen the movie Moneyball, hit me up in the chat. Moneyball, the movie Moneyball. The idea is that they created this dream team, this dream baseball team, but it wasn't with a bunch of all around great players. It was basically a team of players who each had like their niche, like what they did really well. So if you're a sales director on this call, for example, yeah, you might actually determine certain reps actually run certain sourced deals better than others. And then you can use the data to figure out how can we coach our other reps to do better with those too.
That's right. All right, let's open it up for some questions, guys. There's a Q&A box, or if you have a question that you just want to put in the chat, please plug it in. I want to start with one that I saw, and listen, I am so sorry. I might just butcher your name if I say it. So I'm just going to read the actual question here. And I love this question because it shows your particular RevOps maturity. If you've never heard of RevOps maturity, follow me on LinkedIn. No, I'm just kidding. But really, we have like at RevPartners, we have created sort of like a curve, right, in regards to where your CRM lives as it pertains to like whether you have a data model that you're following, whether your information, there's data hygiene, etc. So it shows that you're in level 2 or 3 when you're asking this type of questions. I'll send some information in regards to that in our follow-up. But the question is, do you layer intent and external events data on top of lead scoring? We know that downloading a lot of content and visiting websites often doesn't actually mean an intent to buy or the right moment to reach out. All right, so that's a really good question again, because I would say that there's like almost phases to lead scoring. So what I talked about, if I were to think about this, is version 1. Version 1 would be having a lead scoring only for your ICP. Version 2 would be having that mix of ICP plus behavior. And then version 3 would be adding third-party intent data with into your lead scoring. So this is something that we don't currently do because we don't have an outbound motion or a specific outbound motion in the traditional sense. I feel like that's something that would be better used for an outbound motion in general. But it could also be mixed in with marketing tactics. And the important thing here is to have a tool that is able to fully integrate with HubSpot. But then just the same as we're talking about, if once you have it integrated with HubSpot, you can start creating those positive and negative attributions based off of that data that you'll be pulling in from that third party and building it on top of your lead scoring. So that's a great interjection there. And like I said, like a version 3 of what I would consider a lead scoring process.
Yeah, I would add that with lead scoring, I mean, isn't one of the intents is that leads from certain sources don't immediately turn into sales qualified leads. Some leads are just a little bit, they just take a little bit more. And so lead scoring can automate that handoff at the right time.
Right, exactly. And we have another question here. We know marketing attribution is controversial. How do it correctly so we make sure it's fair for both?
Why is it controversial? Wait a minute. What do you think that means, Diana? Why is it controversial?
The same we've been talking about, right? Marketing doesn't get the right, I mean, they don't get the praise. They just don't. Marketing is like in the background. To be fair, I mean, we're in sales now. Sales gets the praise. That's the truth. So what are your thoughts on that, Matt?
Well, attribution's huge. I mean, I think the term is multi-touch attribution. And if I'm not using that right, someone jump in, Shadab in the chat. But the way I mean it is, I want to see all the touch points. It could be prior to the lead being created. It could be, you know, as the lead's being nurtured for a handoff to sales. And then like I talked about earlier, I want to see the attribution. Like if we're running custom ads to a custom ad audience, all while someone's in our deal pipeline, I want marketing to get credit for that. Maybe we mine the data and we learn that we have a higher close rate. Especially if you think about competitive deals where you've got, you know, 4 or 5 competitors, maybe adding those ads, it's almost like a form of retargeting, might boost the close rate.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, like I said, I also see it in terms of version 1, 2, and 3 for attribution. If you're starting out now, if you take just the 3 steps that I just mentioned, you'll be already in a much better place than you were before. But as you get a little bit more fancy with it and you start really talking about attribution models, I think it's important to understand that, and this is a comment just now in the chat too, like the data can be manipulated to tell a story. That's the truth, right? So like if you have a data model, W versus first touch versus last touch, they're all going to say different things. So really align with how attribution is going to work internally for your team. Listen, that starts with a very, very simple thing. What does an SQL mean to your company? I cannot tell you how many times I've had that conversation with clients. And the reality is that the sales department might say something and the marketing department might say something else. So that goes back to alignment. How are we saying, what's the definition for each one of our life cycle stages? What's the definition of a good lead or a qualified lead? And also, what is attribution really going to mean for us internally? I think that's the biggest pieces. Alignment is the biggest piece here for us to know.
Yeah, that's a great point. We don't have any more Q&A. Any final thoughts, Diana, on this topic?
I think I have 2 main thoughts here to share, and I'll pass it on to you. Number 1 is marketing, sales, customer success alignment. We're all working in the same vein. We're all responsible for revenue, period. Number 2 is revenue is tied so much with marketing that I could have, like, as a RevOps professional, I used to go into accounts and say, look, your biggest gap is top of the funnel. That means you need to bring in the leads for the rest of the funnel to work. You have great conversion rates, you have great retention, you have, like everything else is working, but you're not generating enough leads. And that's where inbound really comes in, right? So something to harp on a little bit more as people, I still have conversations with people that tell me, oh, I haven't invested in marketing and I've been around for 10 years. So listen, things are changing. It's time to reevaluate. You really do need marketing. You need inbound and you need a professional way to go about it. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I just would repeat that last point, which you kind of just touched on too. All of the teams are revenue teams. And if you don't want to be considered a revenue team, that's a problem. Rethink that, because no guts, no glory. Like if you can tie it back to revenue, you're going to be able to get the job promotion, grow the department. It's going to be a good thing. And so the sooner you start to think in those terms, the better.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Diana and Matt, for taking the time to host today. And a big thanks to everyone for joining us and being engaged and asking questions and taking part in our trivia. Congrats to our winners. We'll email y'all with the gift card options. And I'll also be providing a recording of the presentation. So if you missed anything or want to revisit any part of it, you'll have the chance to do so. We hope that you found the information shared today valuable and exciting. And once again, thanks for being a part of this webinar and this hug, and stay connected with us for future events and updates, and have a fantastic day.